Hey everyone, welcome back. So, if you are watching this explainer on YouTube, do me a massive favor, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support these deep dive, science-backed health explainers. Today, we are tearing into a massive, frankly wild trend on the internet right now, the research peptide industry. Now, before we get into the crazy stuff, I've got to be super clear right up front. This explainer is strictly informational. It is based completely on published medical articles, regulatory data, and expert consensus. You should never, ever use these compounds without a licensed doctor directly supervising you, okay? All right, with that out of the way, let's pull back the curtain on an industry that is literally taking the internet by storm.
To really understand all this hype, we first kind of need to get a handle on the science. What actually is a peptide? Well, at a basic level, peptides are just short chains of amino acids. You can basically think of them as smaller, simpler versions of proteins. Your body naturally produces these tiny little chains all day long to orchestrate an incredibly wide array of essential functions. We're talking everything from triggering hormone activity and immune defense to tissue repair and even controlling inflammation. Because they are so highly specific in what they do, the theoretical potential to use them as targeted medical therapies is, frankly, massive.
Okay, let's dive into this. If you spend, any time at all on wellness forums or fitness social media, you are undoubtedly being bombarded with some pretty explosive, almost miraculous claims about synthetic peptides. We're talking absolute promises of effortless muscle growth, incredibly rapid fat loss, literally reversing the aging process, supercharging your brain, and healing physical injuries in record time. It sounds like magic in a little glass vial, right? The whole biohacking community has completely latched onto these compounds as the ultimate shortcut to human optimization.
Now, actually, I want to be fair here. The hype isn't entirely baseless. Peptides actually do have legitimate, highly researched medical applications. For example, just take a look at the dermatological consensus data we have here. It clearly shows how topical peptides are legitimately and safely used in dermatology. They treat acne scars, they accelerate wound healing, and they help manage hyperpigmentation. When they're used in a clinically overseen formulation from a highly regulated pharmacy, they really do work.
Section 1, Proven Medical Breakthroughs, the clinical triumphs of FDA-approved peptides, moving from wellness hype to scientific reality. When properly researched, these compounds are nothing short of revolutionary.
And this right here perfectly illustrates exactly what I mean. This data comes from a systematic review comparing two massively successful FDA-approved peptides used for obesity, semaglutide and tirzepatide. Just look at those numbers. At the 72-week mark, tirzepatide, which is a dual-action GLP-1 and GIP receptor agonist, drove an average weight loss of 20.2%. Semaglutide drove 13.7%. So under strict clinical supervision with rigorously tested pharmaceutical-grade products, peptides are highly effective and generally safe.
But here is where the story takes a really dark turn. What exactly happens when you bypass your doctor, completely bypass the clinical trials, and just decide to buy these compounds online? Well, the reality is far, far more dangerous than what the fitness influencers want you to believe. So, a ton of these performance-enhancing peptides are sold outside of standard medical oversight through what we call the gray market. Online storefronts have figured out how to exploit this massive legal loophole simply by stamping their vials with 5 little words, for research purposes only, or sometimes they just label them as research chemicals. This legally implies that the contents aren't meant for human consumption, which completely allows these vendors to sell experimental compounds directly to you while entirely sidestepping FDA's safety regulations. Section 2. The gray market danger. Compounding pharmacies and impurities. Unlike your standard local pharmacy, compounding pharmacies mix custom, off-label treatments, and doing this with unresearched peptides runs a massive risk. Section 3. The FDA and Health Canada crackdown. Regulators step in. This whole Wild West scenario has finally triggered a massive regulatory sweep by both the FDA and Health Canada. The regulators went straight for the biohacker favorites. They specifically targeted substances like BPC 157, which you've probably heard called the magic peptide for gut and joint healing online. They also went after CJC 1295, AOD 9604, GHKCU, TB 500, and even early, unapproved underground versions of retatrutide. And why? Because these specific peptides simply lack the large-scale human safety trials required to prove they are actually safe to inject into your body. Let's just zoom in on one quick example here, AOD 9604. So this is a synthetic fragment of human growth hormone, and it is incredibly popular online for muscle growth and dropping fat. But the FDA specifically cited it for having a risk for immunogenicity. What that means is this peptide has the ability to trigger a highly negative, abnormal reaction from your own immune system, on top of containing dangerous, unregulated impurities.
The thing is, when you actually start looking for the real hard data behind all this online hype, it just completely vanishes. Dr. Peter Cohen, who is an associate professor of medicine over at Harvard Medical School, hit the nail on the head. He says when you're talking about peptides being promoted online, those health claims have not been vetted by any expert group, the FDA, or anyone else. The health claims are divorced from data. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. When you buy unregulated peptides, you are stepping completely into the dark. To quote Dr. Cohen again, you're really just experimenting with injecting amino acids into your body. You are effectively making the choice to become your own lab rat. There's really no other way to put it. Section 4. Hidden hazards and side effects. What are you actually injecting? The real terror here actually lies in the physical contaminants found inside these unregulated vials. Health Canada released this genuinely terrifying public advisory about the gray market. They warned that unauthorized drugs from these sketchy sources can contain lethal contaminants. We are literally talking about heavy metals like mercury. We're talking about physical, microscopic particles of glass and plastic, dangerous chemical solvents, and microbials like bacteria, fungi, and endotoxins. I mean, just imagine injecting actual glass particles or mercury directly into your bloodstream just to chase a quick fat loss trend on TikTok. It's insane. And look, if the contaminants don't get you, the severe adverse reactions from the unregulated peptides themselves very well might. The clinical literature warns of extreme hormonal and blood sugar imbalances, severe allergic reactions that can lead to full-blown anaphylaxis, and blood clots. But most concerningly, researchers warn about a significant oncologic risk. That means the growth of cancerous tumors, which can be caused by chronically and artificially stimulating your body's growth hormone axis with these unregulated compounds.
Section 5. The bottom line. Prioritizing safety over biohacking trends. If your ultimate goal is to maximize your health, playing Russian roulette with gray market vials is definitely not the answer.
If you genuinely have a medical issue and you're exploring peptide therapy the right way with a legitimate clinic, you still have to protect yourself. Medical supervision is absolutely non-negotiable. You always need to ask the provider, what specific formally diagnosed medical condition is this treating? Then ask, is the compounding pharmacy you use fully licensed in my state or province? And finally, what baseline laboratory testing is required before and during the treatment? If they hesitate on any of those, just walk away.
At the end of the day, we really have to ask ourselves, is the allure of a quick biohacking fix truly worth risking your long-term health? I'll say it one last time. This explainer is purely informational. You absolutely must consult your doctor before starting any medical treatment whatsoever. Now, listen up. If you want to bypass all this dangerous online hype and truly understand the safest, most scientifically sound methods for actually optimizing your health, your metabolism, and your longevity, you need to grab my brand new ebook right now. It is absolutely packed with actionable, strictly vetted science, and it's available today for just $19.90. Seriously, guys, if you are even considering spending hundreds of dollars on shady, unregulated vials that could literally contain glass or mercury, you owe it to yourself to invest $19.90 in legitimate, life-changing knowledge that won't destroy your body. Do not wait on this. Click the link in the description to buy the ebook right now. It is an absolute game changer. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.